I'm camping in Utah by Mexican Hat. So this is a funny name. This is actually named after this perfectly balanced rock that just looks like a Mexican hat. So I guess they named it after that. So that's what it's called now. But I want to tell you about this because this is a hidden gem, this whole area. So first of all, this is dispersed camping, which means you don't have anything. You have to bring everything on your own and you have to pack it in and pack it out so you don't leave anything behind. And in this area, there's a huge public land where you can camp just anywhere where you can make it. But there's also a huge area that's privately owned. So the privately owned areas, it's $18 a night, which is not a lot. And there's really no difference. Except for you have some campsites already made. I mean, there's not much to it. It's just that it's mostly flat and level, and they have a fire ring made of rocks, and that's it. So you can basically camp wherever you want. So I'm actually on the public land portion. But this is a beautiful area, and I'm going to go take a walk and show you what it looks like. There are two main roads. I only followed one, and I think this is where most people can make it with their cars, small trucks, even small RVs. Not very long, but some of the RVs can make it here. And there's another road that I think is much longer, and the bigger rigs can go there. I'm staying here 2 nights and 1 full day, and on the full day, I'm going to go down to the Navajo Reservation down here. It's called Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park, I believe. So that's Monument Valley with all these huge rock formations. It's just gorgeous. And I'm going to go in there and hike Wildcat Trail, which is a 4-mile trail. It should take about 2 or 3 hours. So I'm just gonna do that and then just kind of look around and relax. So this will be an easy day. So right now I am going to go and hike Wildcat Trail, and I also want to show you this interesting spot before we get there. We actually have to go back to Arizona. It's only 30 minutes from here, but on the way there's this place called Forrest Gump Hill. This here is Forrest Gump Hill. It's actually on the map. You could find it. So this is the spot where the movie Forrest Gump was filmed remember when he was running for like 3 years, and then all these people were following him, and then at one point he stopped and they thought he was going to say something philosophical or something very deep, and he just said, "I'm pretty tired. I think I go home now." And everybody was so upset. So this is the actual spot. So everybody's out here taking pictures and videos, and you know, I did the same thing since I was here. So if you're in the area, just stop and do that, but also be careful because people will be in the middle of the road jumping away at the last minute, because the best spot is from the middle of the road. So that was actually pretty cool. There is a short walk from the parking lot to the trailhead, and there you will need to sign in. So you put your name down, how many people are with you, and the time you started the hike. And when you come back, you will sign out. So this is for safety reasons, so they know if you didn't come back, then they can go look for you. And I believe you have to do this at every trail. This trail will form a loop a little later on, but at first it starts out in this deep sandy areas, and it's not so hard going down, but coming up when you're tired, it will be a little bit challenging, but still doable. And already at the very beginning, you see these beautiful rock formations. They are actually called buttes. and they're all over. They're so pretty. I kept taking videos and pictures probably of the same things, because you walk 10 minutes, you look at them at a different angle, and you're thinking, wow, so pretty, gotta take a picture. So you just keep walking, and it's an amazing hike already. It's not completely even. There are some ups and downs, nothing too crazy. The sandy portions sometimes change into a little bit more hard ground, but then it goes back to sandy. But this is not gonna be all the way, just a little while. You're walking in the sun the whole time. There's really no shade. So this is why this is so amazing to see. You will have a few of these structures. It provides you some shade, also protection from the rain, and a little bench to sit. So here we took a little break with the doggy. This is where your loop begins. So from here, you will go to the right and just keep going and loop your way back, and you're coming back on the left, and then follow the same area you came from here on. And you will often see these little markers along the trail to make sure that you stay on. So keep an eye on that. I would also say keep an eye on your map on your phone, because it is actually possible to get off the road or get off the trail and get on a road, which I have done, because you could drive a portion of this area, and if you don't pay attention, you end up on that. Nothing really bad happens, but you're just gonna have to hike back and find your trail. So keep an eye out, because I did exactly that. We took lots of breaks. It seemed like Misha really needed it, although it wasn't even that hot. It was in the 80s, but it felt a little hot. So on the right, you see all the water I bought for her while she's carrying that. And on the left, you see some of the things I bought for myself. I had another water bottle, a big one. So during the heat, I have to keep stressing this point. When you hike in the heat, you need to have enough liquids, and you need to have enough food and ways to replenish your sodium and electrolytes. This here is a hogan, which means home to the Navajo. They are made with cedar, bark, sand, and water, and in the summer it provides much cooler environment, and in the winter it keeps the heat. And this one is a female hogan. It's a little bit more rounded. It's a more permanent structure, but there's also a male hogan, which is more temporary, and that one is more cone-shaped. It was also here that I realized that I had gotten off the trail, and it was just by accident. I looked on my map and I saw that I was following the road you can drive on and not the trail. So I just had to walk back just a little ways and then follow on. So this is why I said earlier to make sure to keep an eye on that. Also, if you don't see any trail markers for a while, then that could be an indication that maybe you are not on the right path. Then all of a sudden, it started raining. It got really windy. The clouds gathered and it just started raining. It wasn't too bad, but definitely unexpected. So luckily, after a little while, we found this structure and we were just going to wait it out, not knowing how long it's going to take. But we sat here for a little while, just enjoying the view. It was still pretty. I didn't mind that it was raining. It was part of the experience for me. sweetie. The storm didn't seem to change much, so after about 15 minutes or so, we started walking. I figured we'll just make our way. That would be another structure soon to sit under, or whatever happens. I mean, worst thing could happen is that we get soaked and wet. It's not the end of the world. We were getting back, so we were already getting closer and closer. And interestingly, as soon as we started walking, it seemed that the rain has lessened. I don't know if it just sounded worse under that metal or it really happened like that, but within a few minutes it actually stopped raining, and it was just quiet again. It was still cloudy, so I knew it could start raining anytime, so didn't really stop too much. We just kept going, and all that sand we had to walk through, the rain actually formed a little harder top, so that was actually much easier to walk on than before. It took us exactly 3 hours for this hike, but we did stop a few times, and twice we stopped for a longer period of time. So I think that added at least a half an hour or more. So you can make this hike easily in 2.5 hours, maybe even in shorter time if you walk a little faster and don't really stop. Back at the campsite, I drove down on that road to see how many campsites there are, and there were about 4 or 5, and the end of it ended with a great campsite down by the river. So this is a good one to camp at. You can actually turn around with an RV, and this is on private property, so you would have to pay $18 a night, but it's totally worth it. So last night was really, really windy. Luckily, the wind died down, and when it does that, it's super quiet. It's just like totally, totally still. It's so nice. And that is what's happening right now. So I'm actually going to grill a big tri-tip steak. I actually have some foil so I can wrap it up and save it for later, but I have been dying to do that. I couldn't do it last night because it was so windy, so I'm gonna do it right now before the wind picks up. My steak was almost done when we got this huge storm. It was crazy winds. Everything was shaking and blowing away. Sand was blowing. I had to pick up everything from outside. It started raining and thundering. So we brought everything in, and it was a little scary for a minute, but it wasn't too bad. I ended up cutting up the meat. It was almost done. So I just had to cook some more, a few slices for dinner, and that was it. It's okay, baby. It was just a lightning. Scary, huh? I know, baby. I know, little baby. I know, sweetie. It's okay. Don't worry. We'll be okay. Look, see, it's almost over, I think. This was a fantastic campsite for 2 nights and an amazing hike, so I know I will be back here again. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on my next stop.